so fast that a 20-minute video takes less than a minute to upload now. So you're going to get your bookings faster now, thanks to this faster internet. So book a service today on Bomboni.com, and I can shout your first name out in the beginning of a video if you book a 30-minute or an hour-long session with me, which I highly recommend, at least a 30-minute. Yeah, those are the best, most recommended, above the 15-minute or the hour. I'd say a 30-minute is that sweet spot that most people are looking for. So go check it out. And today I'm going to be doing a story time video. It's been a while since the last story time, about all the times when I lost all my friends. There's 3 different times this has happened in my life. So let's begin spilling the tea. Okay, so I'm going to be making sounds from time to time throughout this video while I am talking to you. So, I don't know how to call this group of 3 friends I had. It was very short-lived. I would say probably maybe a few months, maybe 6 months tops. We were friends, maybe 3, 4, 5 months. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. And I'd say it's more than that. I would say it's at least probably 6 months to a year. And this was back in, oh gosh, I think it was back in like the end, if I'm not mistaken, the end of elementary school, maybe beginning of middle school. I don't exactly remember, to be honest with you. So, basically, I was kind of always, a loner. I was very social, but a loner at the same time. Like, I knew many people, but never really had those, like, close friendships like that for the longest time. Up until, like, I would say later on in middle school, maybe. And I felt like I was bullied a lot, and untreated fairly, more than most kids. For some reason, I was always the oddball, the black sheep, right? So I was really grateful to not only have like 1 new friend, not 2, but 3 new friends. And these 3 friends, we'll just call them Mark, David, I'm making up a name, and Tom. We'll just call them Mark, David, and Tom. Okay, I'm keeping them completely anonymous because you never know who's watching. So these 3 were inseparable, and I've always seen them like at the playground, right, growing up, and like in the school playground. You know how you have like a schoolyard outside, right? So I know you're probably like, why are you talking about something that happened like maybe 20 years ago? It's because sometimes it still bothers me how it went down to this day. You ever have a memory and you still, like, to this day, like, damn, I wish that never happened, you know? Yeah, so that's why I'm talking about it. So, I mean, I'm able to let it go, don't get me wrong, but, like, there's still some, like, memories you hold on to, and you're like, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I was still friends with them, you know? And, like, why did things turn so sour so quickly? But anyway, so, I was drawn to them. I don't know. I literally was, like, trying to approach them without being too, like, upfront. I guess we ended up, like, on the playground, I was bored, and we ended up somehow just bumping into each other constantly and talking, but without really becoming friends. And it slowly transitioned into a friendship where, you know, we kind of started hanging out daily and talking daily, you know. And low-key back then, you know, even as a kid, I was low-key crushing on one of the guys in the friend group, right? So, and that was David. We'll call him David. That was not his real name. And obviously didn't come out. I was way too young. Yeah, I remember distinctly one of them was like, I don't know, I guess he knew about me or something, I don't know. But he was like, oh, if you're still crushing on guys after you're like 12, then that means you're gay. And I was like, okay. But he didn't like try to come across rude. But like, he at the same time was fruity as hell too. So I'm like, was he just insecure? I don't know. But anyway, that was Mark. So I was not crushing on Mark, right? But yeah, so like, you know, we played the slides and stuff like that, and I just was like one day like, oh, can I be your guy's friend? You know, after like maybe a couple weeks of talking on and off and hanging out, and they were like, oh, sure, you're already our friend. And they were like, oh, but let me just ask the other of the friend group just to be sure. And they were like, yeah, you can be our friend. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And so now it wasn't a trio, we were a quadruplet of friends. We were like a band, right? We were a group of 4. And it was so much fun. Like, we always had something to talk about, always had jokes to say, right? It was a blast. I don't know what happened, right? So the school year basically finished, and over summer we decided to hang out and meet up at the park. So we all went to this theme park and hung out for the whole day together. And I will never forget this ever. Ever. Like, he literally said, and it was so wise, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought, oh, I'm gonna have so many more of these experiences, and it ended up being true what he said. One of the friends said, you know, I'm glad we got to do this because this is a once in a lifetime thing. And I didn't get it at first. I was like, what is he talking about? I can always go to, you know, the theme park and hang out all day with any of my friends when I get older too. Lord have mercy. Something like that never happened again, where I hung out with like 3 different people and we go to a water park and hang out all day. Like, never again after this. So he said literally this was once in a lifetime, and that was true. That was the once in a lifetime thing. And while you're young and a kid, it's more fun than, you know, as an adult, of course. So literally I was like, oh my gosh, that just hit me, right? Actually, so I'm glad I got to do it. We had a blast, you know, we hung out from day to night there. I think it was like a whole 10-hour day at the theme park. I can't say the name, because I'm not trying to advertise, but like, it's one of the biggest theme parks around in the whole country, and they have several of them in different states. That's all I'll say. So, roller coasters, water slides, all the, like, you know, churros. And so we had an adventure, you know. I guess we did rides. I don't really remember. I don't have too much recall. I think I more was like scaredy cat and wanted to do the kiddie rides, because I've done the big extreme rides before, and they are not fun. They are so scary. Oh my gosh. I went on the fastest one once. I was like, nope, never again. So, yeah, that's just too much for me. I don't like extreme anything, you know. But, so, anyway, we had a blast. We had a good time, you know. And then we just on and off hung out at each other's houses. One of the kids, Tom, I'll call him, I think he was like from a different country. I think he had an accent. Like, he didn't talk much. He was the quietest of the group, and he was just very observant, and he just like was silent. But they had a huge freaking house. Oh my god, I was floored. The house was enormous. And so yeah, and I don't know, they were just acting wild. Like, one of them was like, we had, I think, like a sleepover once too together, and they were like just just climbing on the table, jumping on the beds. Like, they were acting great, right? But we knew how to have a good time, right? So, like, I honestly genuinely miss them as friends. Like, that was a good time, really. That was a good time. I can only imagine how much fun we would have had if we, still knew each other as adults. But anyway, so the band, I call it, quickly started to deteriorate and grow apart. So as the summer break comes to an end and a new school year begins, and we are entering middle school, and I'm saying hi to them in the hallway. Nothing. Oh, hi. All of a sudden, it's like I'm just being ignored, like I don't exist. And I'm like, okay. I try again, day after day. I try to say hi to Mark. Same reaction. I try to say hi to David. Little to no reaction. I try to say hi to Tom. Completely ignores me. Like I don't even fucking exist. And I'm like, alright, let me see if they actually talk to each other in the halls. So the next few days and weeks, I'm looking for them in the hallways. I barely find them. I think they see that I'm constantly going down the hall at a certain time, so they purposely choose to walk a different path in the hall, like sneaky rats, right? So I figure this out, and then so I choose to walk another path so I can bump into them again. And then I try to see, not to say hi to them, but to see if they're talking to each other. And I come to find out they're still talking to each other, and they're not talking to me. So I'm like, alright, this is odd. And so I felt like left out. I felt like maybe I pushed myself onto their friendship as a trio, Thankfully, one semester, or quarter, they called it, it's like half a semester, Tom, I'm remembering their fake names, Tom was in my, should I say what class? Sure, like anyone's gonna find out. He was in my art class, right? And I try to talk it up with him, and I'm like, look, can I be honest with you? I kind of have to warm up a few weeks to him first. It took a long time, right? I was very shy back then. And he did not say a word. He obviously knew I was there. And I'm like, can I just ask what happened to our friendship? Like, why did it die down? He's like, oh man, don't worry about it. I don't even talk to them anymore. And I was like, okay, maybe that was true, maybe not, because I only saw David and Mark talking to each other, but not Tom and David or Tom and Mark, right? So I'm like, okay, there could be some truth to this. And then another day he tells me the truth. He's like, honestly, they just didn't feel comfortable around you anymore. It's because of who you are. And I'm like, what are you talking about, child, right? Who am I? Like, I was your friend. We got along, and they were like, then he just flat out said, you're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. He didn't want to tell me. So I was like, okay, alright. They want drama, let's bring drama. So I decided to go up to Mark and confront him, just being rude, and just be like, oh, you don't want to talk to me because of who I am, huh? Do you have a problem? And all of a sudden I'm nasty, right? I got attitude. Because he was secretly closeted, like, let's be real, right? So for him to be saying that was, wow, that was bold, right? So he ignores me. He's like, go away, don't talk to me, blah, blah, blah. So I confront him again at lunch. I'm like, oh, we have a problem, huh? I thought I was your friend, huh? Why you gonna be fake like that? I just confronted him, right? And I guess his friend, some girl next to him was like, oh, leave him alone. What's wrong with you? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, all right, this is how they want to play, huh? So then I go up to my crush, right, David, and I'm like, hey, I'm pretending everything's okay. Says a lot about me as a person back then, right? I'm like, hey, can I just ask you, like, what's up? Like, what happened? Do you talk to Mark anymore? I'm pretending like everything's okay. And he's like, yeah, he was always very friendly. And I'm like, you guys don't really message me anymore. Did you lose my number? And he's like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll text you. I gotta get going to my class, though. I was like, okay. He never texted me, just as fake as the rest of them, right? So I'm just going about my business, and then I decide, you know what, I think it's time to move on. Come to the end of the school year, I finally have the courage to talk to Mark again. And I literally, it's funny because he had a friend that I didn't become friends with until years later. And I had no idea that would happen. I'd end up like sleeping over her house and stuff. So it was another friend. They had lockers they shared next to each other, right? And so I'm gonna stop playing with this for a while because I don't want to irritate people that don't like the sound. So I had a lot of spare change by the end of the school year in the locker, and I'm like, you know what, let me try to pull something to try to get him to come to me. Okay, so I ended up being like, hey, let's call her Cassandra. Cassandra, do you want this spare change? I have a lot. And she's like, oh yeah. So she had her hands. I emptied up, or her palms were full with change, and then ending up filling up another cup full of change, and I just gave it all to her. And I go up to Mark, I'm like, you want some? He's like, no thank you. Again, sassy and attitude. And I'm like, hey, how are you? I hate how things went down during this school year. I hope we still got to be friends, you know? And he's just like, yeah, I hope so too. Like, he kind of like attitude, right? And then he just walked away. He's like, bye, I guess. And I was like, have a good summer, you know? But he clearly did not want to talk, wasn't in the mood. So I'm like, you know what, let me give up on this fool, right? By the next school year, he wasn't even there anymore. He completely switched schools, moved out of state, whatever. I don't care. Something happened, right? Another kid of the friend group did too. Never saw him again. I was like really upset about that. But the quiet one, Tom, ended up staying through the whole middle school. I didn't see him into high school. He completely relocated elsewhere or went to a different high school after that. So it completely disbanded. And then I asked Cassandra once we became friends starting in high school, all those years later, I kid you not, it was at least like 3, 4, 5 years later, I was like, what happened with Mark? You were so close to him, you were best friends. And she said she had no idea. She said he just completely moved. And then I think she said, I don't remember exactly, I'm pretty sure she said he passed away or something like that. Or got horribly ill or something. I could be mistaken, but I was like floored. Yeah, it was either him or someone else, but anyway, I was floored either way. So I was still like upset, you know. I was like, oh, I wish this would have worked out. And I asked her, like, was he gay? And she was like, oh yeah, totally, but he didn't want to admit it. So I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, did he have a crush on me or something? She's like, I don't know. So okay. So it's kind of funny how close we were, because at the time as a kid, well, I kind of was into both. So I told Mark to tell this girl that I liked her, I had a crush on her, but like not in a direct way. So he went up to her and asked her like, oh, do you like this person? Oh, do you like Tony? And she was like, no. But like the way she said it was like to one person she was like, oh no. And then when he asked Tony, she was like, no. So like she wasn't that grossed out by me, thankfully. But like that was my way to know, like, yeah, if she liked me or not. And then we ended up working together in like a science lab, which was kind of like made me very nervous at the time. It's funny how that changed, right? Like as a kid, I still remember having crushes on girls and boys. It was so weird, and then it just completely shut off once I was in well into high school. I would say like that part of me, my brain chemistry, I don't know, it just completely turned off. So well, until one of my college courses, there was just one person I was like really into, but that's another story. So anyway, which is very rare for me to be like, you know, into women like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess it does happen. It's possible, but it's very, 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 very rare. But anyway, so yeah, so like I was like thinking like, oh, he's my friend, he's like my best friend. And then, you know, you can't be best friends with 3 people. I learned that the hard way. But I always wondered to this day, what the hell happened? You know, why did we disband? But it's very hard to, I learned in older years that like I'm laughing because I'm not that old, but 500 chance that they will stay together for life. It just does not work. It's impossible, you know. So it made me feel better knowing that, but also, you know, at least I got something out of it. I made, at the time, a decent friend out of one of his friends. So that was kind of like, I don't know, my reward, I guess, for all that. I still ended up with a decent friend. And we ended up not really talking after high school. I think, unfortunately, they flunked their senior year, so they had to like redo it, and we lost contact. I went off to university at the time. And yeah, so, but anyway, so it's just funny how things work. Like, sometimes I'm thinking, like, I don't remember their last names, but I remember one of them, and I can't seem to find them anywhere, like, online. Be like, oh, where are they? What are they doing now? You know, sometimes you look back. But yeah, that's the time I lost all three of my friends. It was very short-lived, but yeah, they were all I had at the time. And then I ended up making new friends after a while, so it was no big deal. But it still hurt. It still sucked as a kid, you know, especially to go through that. And that I felt kind of gaslit. I think that was my first time of like narcissistic gaslighting, which Mark really, now that I come to realize, was doing. Making me feel crazy, questioning and doubting myself, confusing me, not really being like clear as to why I'm being like pushed away, all of a sudden just being ghosted. That was definitely my first ghosted experience, and I think that brought up a lot of hurt and pain in me at the time. So another time was in my freshman year of high school. So this was the biggest loss I've ever had. This was the biggest blow to my self-esteem, and what caused me to be very, very depressed for 2 years. So, I still eventually ended up having like on and off friendships, but it was only the people who supported me as a gay man. So, like, it's not my first time being discriminated against. Back then, when I was in middle school, being gay was just not common or openly, you know, and you were shunned, you were disrespected, you lost friends for even thinking about coming out or even having thoughts about the same sex. So I came out in freshman year, and my first major way of coming out was at school. And oh my god, as embarrassing as this sounds, I literally, there was like an online messenger chat through our school that we had, like a DM messenger. Like, it was like IM, right? But it was like ahead of its time because it was like through the school. And I don't know what came over me this one day. Like, I was crushing on this one guy for a long time. We'll just call him no, I don't want to say that name because that was another friend I had. We will just call him I can't think of a name. We'll just call him Ben. Okay. I don't know any Bens. Alright. So, he was in literally 4 of my classes throughout high school. 4. So I could not avoid him, okay? And, like, yeah, so, I literally ended up telling him over that stupid messenger, and, I don't have many regrets in life, but that was one thing I could have held back on, because, like, I felt like he kept, you know, looking at me too at the time, and, I felt like he was kind of eyeing me up and down too, as I was him, and I didn't get, like, I'm not good with hints or body language, so I maybe misunderstood it completely. It's like, why is this kid just looking at me sometimes, you know? But we never really spoke like that, you know, which was awkward, so I ended up just kind of confessing my feelings to him in the chat. No response. And then, literally, the next day went by, nothing happened, everything was normal. Then the next day went by. It was so awkward. Like, I swear, everyone was looking at me. I was the talk of the town, right? I kid you not. So many people came up to me and found out what happened because he told people that he knew who told So all of a sudden, like, it just blew up throughout the school. I was getting looks, I was getting remarks. Even in the class we were both in together, his friend came up to me and was like, "Why'd you message him?" And I was just like, F off, B word. I was cussing her out, and then the teacher defended me because maybe she knew what was going on too. She was like, "Leave him alone, or you're gonna get kicked out of the class." I still remember it was Spanish. So like he looked super uncomfortable, like, and then like I didn't even check the message. They replied back to me until I got home that day, and I didn't even realize he responded to me the night before because I stopped checking. And he was just saying like that I should have just never said that, basically, right? Basically, like, I should have just kept that to myself. And he does not feel that way back, right? So I was like, okay. And that, my heart sunk, right? I was like, oh my God, why did I do that? This was so, keep in mind when you're like 14, what do you know, right? But like, I was like, okay, big lesson, big regret, big mistake, right? Do not just tell people you like them unless you're ready to get yourself hurt, right? Especially socially, your reputation, right? So, there on Facebook, I used to have a Facebook back in 2009 and through maybe 2013. And there was this like quiz thing you would take, right? And then one of the kids, you have to like play a certain amount of games or something, or win certain prizes to find out who answered this trivia question about you. And it said like, would you consider Tony brave? And he said yes. And it was a guy I used to be acquaintance with, barely knew, in middle school. And he said I was brave because he typed in the chat box because I wasn't afraid to admit how I felt about someone I liked. And I knew right then and there. I was like, he knew about the situation. I mean, pretty much a lot of the I would say probably a fifth of the school knew what went down. It was embarrassing, So, it was like over 1,000 kids, so that's like hundreds of kids, So basically, that made me feel a lot better because I thought he didn't like me. That random friend. I'm not talking about Ben. I'm talking about that random person on the Facebook. And I guess I had friended him because back then, I don't know, I was just like friending everybody I knew and acquaintance people, right? Like, just whatever. In case you have like a homework question or something, you can message him, right? So it meant a lot to hear from all the hatred and negativity that there was that one person still rooting for me, even though they didn't want to talk to me. And I went up to them and I was like, "Oh, you said this about me on Facebook." He denied it. He was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He obviously knew. He was just embarrassed. He didn't want to be seen around me, right? Because maybe he didn't want to be bullied too, right? So, basically, that made me feel kind of sad and alone, but, nonetheless, I started losing. Friends were dropping left and right. All my straight friends from middle school lost, didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to associate with me anymore, started shying away from me, started distancing themselves from me ever since that event. And I felt unseen, unheard. My only real friends of support were the ones who were like super, liberal, super, what do you call it? Like, just their own version of freaks and weirdos, right? And I mean that with love and respect. Like the goths, the Latino community. I've had a lot of Latino friends and Hispanic friends. They were very supportive and loving, and they didn't judge me, and they understood. And yeah, so it was still very difficult to form solid friendships after that because so many people fell off. It affected my mood, which I realize now affected my friendships, and which is why I couldn't fully be there for them because I was always so sad, so depressed, and every time someone saw me, I would just be so upset to the point of tears. Like I couldn't even sleep, I couldn't go to class, I couldn't pay attention. Like I'd have to excuse myself constantly to like the dean's office or the nurse office or the bathroom, and just to kind of like release some pent up feelings and cry family what was going on. I just told close friends at the time over many nights of many text messages on my flip phone with the keyboard. And I eventually had a long distance partner. So he was very understanding of what I was going through and empathetic and stuff. So yeah, that was hard. But obviously I didn't, do this when I had the partner long distance. I did this when I was single, obviously. But I ended up bringing it up to them once I was in that like when I was a teen. I started having 2 different long distance relationships over the span of a total of 4 years. So that got me through my teenage years. If it wasn't for that, I think I would be dead, honestly, because I was having a lot of dark thoughts at the time, right? So it just was like a lack of support, because your teenage friends at the time cannot help you when they themselves are going through their own crap too, So again, I had to realize that at the time, like, you can only save yourself, and you should only talk to an adult that you can trust, that's not going to go off and tell another adult or your parents, So yeah, so that was hard. That was one girl I remember specifically that hurt me the most. There was this guy, it was my friend, and we ended up I guess dating for a short while, and he was friends with her too. And when she found out, for some reason, she just wouldn't talk to me anymore. I don't know why. Maybe she liked me, and it crushed her that I liked someone else instead. And then she just stopped talking, and I asked her, like, why did you just stop talking to me? It didn't make sense. And the irony in this twist of fate, I end up bumping into her. I didn't talk to her. She didn't even talk to me at all, obviously. But like, I bumped into her at the hair salon, the same hair salon at the same Walmart that Cassandra worked at. So I'm like, what are the odds? But anyway, it's kind of weird how, like, we all know each other in some way, in a weird way. Like, you probably know someone I know in connection with someone you know, and they know each other. Like, you may not know the person I know, and I may not know the person you know, but the person I know knows the person you know. We all know each other in some way. It's so weird. But anyways, basically, that not only was the event embarrassing of confessing my feelings, but years later, I find out his brother, Ben's brother, is a famous baseball player. He wasn't at the time when I was 14, but he became a famous baseball player on the biggest team in America. I was like, holy shit. So I can only imagine the embarrassment now. Like, he probably told his brother. It was just, he was in my school too, and I saw him a few times. He always seemed like a nice guy, but holy shit, he's huge now. But yeah, so that's yeah. Yeah. Speaking of reputation on the line, very embarrassing, very, very embarrassing. Yeah. So yeah, I just hope he never ended up telling anyone else. Like, because so many people from my high school ended up finding me on YouTube years later, and like, oh my god, you're from my high school. I was like, shit. So like, I hope he never like told anyone, like, oh, Tony Bomboni said to my brother. I was like, oh my god, that'd be so embarrassing. I hope not. But anyway. I hope it just stopped then and there. I hope it was just a forgotten memory, because it was such a huge thing at the time. I doubt it's forgotten. I'm sure he told his brother. I'm pretty fucking sure. But I'm sorry to curse, but it's so embarrassing. I'm still like low-key so embarrassed to this day. When I found out about his brother, I was even more embarrassed. I was like, oh my god, I hope this never comes out one day. Okay, anyway. So I know I told this story before, but I'm kind of like mashing it into one video where like times when I lost all my friends. So yeah, that's yeah. So I ended up finding him on Facebook years later, and he ended up moving to the same state I'm living in now. We were both from Illinois. We both ended up moving to Florida. Like, how crazy is that? So many weird connections. So, the last time I lost all my friends was in 2017. So, this was the year from hell. I can't believe it was 8 years ago. Yeah, this is very uncomfortable for me to talk about. Oh my god, I didn't realize how embarrassing this was. I think it's very therapeutic, though, to confess, pent up feelings and emotions. And like lately, I've been thinking about like people who just like used to treat me horribly, like, and just seeing them now as like a completely different person. It's weird. It's so weird. But anyway, it's like kind of like healing the memory, in a weird way. Like you can forgive them looking back. They didn't know any better. But 2017, so I was just pushing everyone away. I was borderline up the butt. Like I was just so crazy, so not in the right place. Mental health issues up the ass. Like I just was not in a good place at all. And I was just losing it. Slowly. There was just nothing but bad happened that year. I got in a horrible car wreck, destroyed my car, lost all my friends, lost 30% of my income because of some changes on YouTube at the time. And oh my god, I lost count. Like there was just people that were just gaslighting me, honestly, and just not really, being there for me fully, or like being my friend and then blocking me out, at the time. I'm talking at the time. So I've made peace with all these people since, obviously, but like it was just not a good time. Okay. And I think that is what really propelled me to push everyone away. And I thought everyone was bad luck. I thought everyone was out to get me. I was paranoid. I was just not in a good place. I was hermiting a lot. I was just shutting myself in the apartment, not going anywhere at all. And I was in the works of just trying to save up for a home and just focus on work. And I was overworking, and I was working all these sponsorships, working on holidays. I worked every day of the week and just overdoing it and putting too much effort. And it was just a crazy time. Like I was so alone. Like I shut out all my friends, all my best friend, just everyone except for family. But I just purposely pushed everyone away, to focus on me. And that was the only time I lost friends of my own choosing, And I would say I kind of felt like the victim at the time, but really at the time, that's when I was like the least victim. I would say I was the victim, maybe with those 3 friends, or maybe I wouldn't say a freshman in high school when I confessed my crush, because I chose to tell him, with knowing that the consequence I could possibly face. But, in 2017, besides the car wreck, I was not the victim, right? I chose to push people away of my own volition. So, I can't feel sorry for myself for that time, but I wish I handled that time in my life better, because overall, I really didn't have to stress that much. Everything ended up okay, more than okay, and I got the house, I got the car, a new car after that. The insurance paid, I regained all those friendships, well, except for one, but up with him. But anyways, so I basically am here, still on YouTube, still going, and I just wish that never happened, and I wish I never have to experience a year like that ever in my freaking life ever again. Okay, so that's the story about when I lost all my friends. Yeah, so the next video I'm going to be talking about Buddhist principles, make it more peaceful. So hope you enjoy me spilling the tea. Alright, even though it was embarrassing. Oh yeah, I forgot to make sounds. This is the latest book I'm reading, How to Thrive in Hard Times, a Buddhist Manual by Stephen Fuller. It's a good one so far. Very short chapters, so it's taking me a while to get through it, but my lesson I've learned through all this process: don't burn bridges, guys. It's not worth it. No amount of money will make you happy anyway. This applies for anything. Travel, anytime you're running from something or avoiding or escaping. I think it's sometimes you have to be with certain people to work out karma and to learn, heal, and grow and evolve, and become a better person. You can't handle life alone. And 8 years ago I thought I could, and I ended up destroyed. You need your people, you need your solid rocks, your foundation, and sometimes family. Sometimes friends are closer than family. That's something I learned too along the way. And don't confess your love to someone unless you are sure they at least like you back. And life is short. Confess anyway, because hey, maybe I secretly loved attention and I liked it, And don't have regrets in life, don't feel guilty for something. To let it go, forgive yourself, forgive other people. You don't know what they've been through, what happened. I'm just talking about major events that really deeply affected me. I'm not talking about other times in my life I've lost friends. That's happened countless times, as I'm sure it has with you. But these are just the ones that really, these top 3 events that have shaped me, I would say, and I've learned the most from, So, yeah. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to do something that makes you uncomfortable as hell, right? You're going to learn a lot from that and grow a lot from that, and you can have a great story to tell someone one day. Okay. Alright, so thank you guys. Subscribe if you enjoy the story time, and I will see you in your own personal reading. I'm available now for personal private readings on TonyBomboni.com. Thank you all so very much. I'll see you all very soon. Bye.